Okay, I'm going to walk you through setting up our dev environment using Visual Studio Code and XAMPP. This is for a Windows machine. If you have a Mac, then I've got a separate video for setting up Visual Studio Code and XAMPP on a Mac. We're also going to hook up Xdebug so we can step through our code. Here we go. So we're going to start by clicking on the download. And there it goes. What have we got? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Still waiting. Here we go. Something's happening. Let's accept that. What harm could Microsoft possibly do to us? Add open with code action. That's a really good idea. To the context menu. Sure. Register code as an editor for supported file types. Yep, do that. Add to path. Good idea. Okay. Desktop icon I'll leave with you. Watching stuff install is very exciting. And we're ready to go. Let's launch Visual Studio Code. Here it comes. It's coming. Alright. We're going to maximize it. And we're going to come back to this in a minute. So next we're going to do is set up our PHP server. So in order to do that, we're going to go to XAMPP. There are lots of others. This is the one I want to use. And we're just going to download the latest version. And see, it's going to load in no time at all. Oh, here we go. Yes. Now, if you have user access control turned on your version of Windows, you'll have seen that as well. Maybe you've got even higher security, you have to log in. Alright, because an activated user account control on your system, some functions may be restricted. I actually think we're going to get away with that. So we'll click on that. Now let's look at these options. Let's leave MySQL. FileZilla FTP we do not need. Mercury Mail Server we do not need. Tomcat we do not need. Perl we do not need. WebAlyzer and Fake Send Mail we do not need. But we're going to leave MySQL and PHPMyAdmin. Ready to go. Here we go. Alright. Again, the thrill of watching things install. I'll see you on the other side. Okay, maybe you got to here. Let's have a look at this, what it's saying here. It's saying Windows Defender Firewall has blocked some features of this app because of security concerns. So Apache server is actually trying to listen on a port. So we're going to turn off its ability to do that on a public network, and we'll turn it on a private network such as your home or work, and we'll allow access through the firewall. Do I want to start the control panel now? Let's do that. Presumably we're in English or American. Okay, so we've got our control panel. We're going to start our Apache server, and hopefully, just like this, it's gone green. You can see it's running or listening on port 80. So what we want to do into config and we're going to auto start Apache. We're not going to turn on MySQL for now. We might get to that later. Okay, so that's what we want to see. For now, that's all we need to do here. What I want to do now is click on the admin button. And you'll see that we've launched a web page called localhost dashboard, and this is then index.php in actual fact. So this is a default site. Let's have a look where that is on our computer. I'll need a Windows folder, and on the C drive where I told it to install, it installed a folder called XAMPP. Inside this folder is a folder called htdocs, and we're actually looking at this file here. So if you're on a Windows computer, what I want you to do is to create a new folder called sites, and in this folder you're going to put into your quick access or shortcuts or however you want to get to it, so we can jump quickly into this folder here. Alright, so in order to get to this folder, on here we've got this okay, it should be, I thought there was another thing here. PHP. Okay, so what we're going to do is change this to sites, and you can see we've got a folder with nothing in it. So sites is looking here. If I was to add a new folder here and call it site 1, then come back here and refresh the page, you can see now I've now got a folder called site 1. Site 1's got nothing in it. Well, of course it doesn't have anything in it. We didn't put anything in it. So this is where we're going to create all the sites. So a site is a collection of different pages, and you'll need to create several different sites throughout the course. But we're going to manage most of that through Visual Studio Code. So what I'm going to do in Visual Studio Code is go File, Open Folder, and then we're going to go and find that folder. Now because I added it to the quick access, there it is, and here's site 1. I'm going to select the folder site 1. I'm going to wait, apparently. Okay. I'm going to close the welcome screen. So you can see I've got site 1, and there's nothing in it. Well, let's put something in it. So I'm going to create a file. I'm going to call it index.php, and that automatically opens that file, and I'm going to put a p tag. It says hello, and I'm going to save that, and I'm going to go back to here, and if I go into this folder, you can see I've now got my index.php file, and if I refresh my site 1 folder, it loads my page. I can view my page source and see we've just got the p tag we made, and you recall that when a web site has got no when you just go to a website without specifying the page, you get that page. If I go back here and rename, that's F2 is a shortcut in Windows. I think it's just hit enter on a Mac. So I'm going to call this page 1. Oops. Page 1.php. So it's got the same content, but now if I go back to there, instead of seeing the page, see page 1 listed in the directory, in the index. Ooh. Now click on page 1, I can see that code again. Alright, so now let's just make sure that PHP is actually doing something, and unlike in the Mac version of this, I'm not going to forget to put in a PHP tag. I'm going to use a PHP command called echo. This is PHP talking to you. Well, actually, I might deliberately make that error. So if I do that and refresh my page, and that's F5 in Chrome on a PC, you can see it says echo, and then the quotes, and then a semicolon. But actually we don't want that. We just want the contents of that. So PHP, so if we wrap that inside a PHP tag, then the PHP interpreter, which is Apache, will take that echo command and do whatever it needs to. So now when I refresh the page, instead of seeing the command, I just see the output of the command, and that's what we want. Okay, the last thing we're going to do here is set up Xdebug. So what Xdebug allows us to do is pause our code in Visual Studio Code, line by line in PHP, before it gets sent over to the browser on the client side. Alright, so in order to do that on a PC, there's a few steps involved. So I'm going to do a so you do a web search for Xdebug, come down to the main page. Now somewhere along here there's installation instructions, so I'm going to do that. Follow these instructions to get Xdebug installed. Alright, so it's asking for output from our PHP info. Now the XAMPP, so if we go back to here and to our Welcome to XAMPP folder, back to the dashboard, one of the things we've got here is the PHP info. So what we need to do is Control A, Control C, just on this page, go back to the Xdebug page and just paste that into there, Control V. So we've got all that nonsense, and then it says analyze my PHP info output, so we'll click on that, and it tells us Xdebug is not installed. We're using Apache 2, we're on compiled version of the Visual Studio Visual C 15. We don't have a Zen server running, we're running this version of PHP, and so on. So here are the instructions for this computer. Yours will be similar. So it says download this file. Alright, we'll have a go at that. Now we'll get this warning message. We'll talk about what a DLL is another time perhaps, a dynamic link library. So let's keep it. It could be harmful because the code inside it can be executed. So you can write different things in there. So that's downloaded now. So let's show in folder. And you can see that the instructions say move to the folder C XAMPP PHP Ext. So I'm going to go Control X, oops, Control X to cut it. C XAMPP PHP Ext. Paste it in there. Then it says go to XAMPP PHP ini. XAMPP PHP. Go down here, we'll find a file called PHP ini. So PHP I think it's, oh yes, so configuration settings. So we want this one. And it can ask us what we want to open it in. Let's open it in Visual Studio Code. And we'll always open ini files in Visual Studio Code. So here is our Visual Studio, sorry, our php.ini. Now the instructions say add the line Zend extension blah 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 blah. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go to the very end of the file. Now there's a few ways of doing that. One way is just to do that. I might just put it here above local variables. So I'm going to create a block, call it debug, and I'm going to paste in the line that it told me to put in. And I'm also going to do add some other settings as well. You might want to pause the video here to copy this down yourself. Save the php.ini file and close it. Then go back to your map controller and stop Apache server and start Apache server. Hopefully it starts up again. And if we go back to the admin screen, click on PHP info again. If we scroll down a little bit, we'll see here it says Zend engine with Xdebug. And if I show you the PHP info before we turn that on, it just says Zend engine. So we're pretty confident that we've got Xdebug set up correctly. Alright, we've hit the 20-minute mark, we're just over. So now, having set everything up, I just want to show you what that allows us to do. So inside our code here, I'm just going to create a very simple for loop from 0 to 10 that uses the echo again. This is the loop number, and then we'll add on to that our loop counter, which is I, and we'll put in a HTML break so each one is on a new line, and then we'll comment out that Control-C for comment, Control / for comment. I'll save it, and let's see what this will do without debugging first. Come back over here to our file, or where is it? We might need to create a shortcut for ourselves to this. So we know it was sites. So I'm going to create myself a little shortcut here, and I'm going to whack that on the bookmarks bar so I can get to it easier. Not on my own computer, so that'll be interesting. So into site 1, we've got page 1, and we've got our loop here, 0 through to 9. Okay, excellent. So that's what's supposed to happen. But what if something's going wrong? We want to be able to stop the page in the middle so we can see what's going on. So if I hover over here, we need to turn on debugging. So there's a couple of things that we need to do. Firstly, in Chrome, we need to go to the Chrome store and Chrome Store. Alright. And we're going to find Xdebug. Here it is, Xdebug helper, and add to Chrome. Add extension. Good to go. Alright, you can see there's some options here. We don't need to worry about that really much at all. Get rid of that. And we'll go back to Visual Studio Code, and we've got the little debug button. We'll click on that, and it tells us there are no configurations set up. So let's add a configuration. Now, saying we've got all of these configurations to choose from. One we actually want is not there. It's called PHP. So let's click on more, and we've got these list of extensions we can add. This one here is PHP Debug. So let's install it. Bang, we're ready to go. You can watch a little video if you want to, or you can watch me doing it instead. So now that we've got that turned on, and I'll go back into debug, I can add a configuration. PHP is there. I'm going to leave all the defaults, close it off. Now, when I come over here, you see I get this little red dot. When I click on it, it goes bright red. You can see down the bottom here that page 1 now is a breakpoint. So, when I click on Start Debugging, see I get this new little toolbar come up. I'm probably the first time I'll get this thing. So yes for private networks, no for public networks, allow access. Okay. Alright, so now we've got a couple of extra things going on here. When I go back to my page and refresh it, notice that it didn't refresh. It's still spinning, and Visual Studio Code is asking me to do something. So if I click in here, you can see now that the code is actually stopped on this line. Any variables that are loaded, I can see those values here. So if I use this button to step over, then one line of code gets executed, and you can see in that line of code I got incremented to 1, and then it's going to echo out that, and it's going to come back to the loop again. I got incremented, echoes out that. Right, so it's breaking here just before this line of code gets interpreted by PHP. Once I step over it, anything that it needed to do, such as outputting to the screen, would have happened. But notice this is not updating. So because we've sort of broken the connection a little bit. So what I can do, if I take that breakpoint out and then just tell it to keep going, the code exits. You see that we've lost all this information now, and the page is where it is. So that's it. That's what I wanted to show you in this session. It's taken us 25 minutes or so, but we've got Visual Studio Code installed, we've got XAMPP installed, and we've got our site structure set up. So see you in the next video.